Yes, all right, we're on. Hey, this is SamMeeBee with Gem City Sports. Today's Wednesday, October 11th. As we do every Wednesday around 8 p.m., we're going to give our predictions for next week. I do want to plug, if you haven't checked our last video, please check it out. It was released Monday with our guest Sean. As you can see, we have a new guest today. The video from Monday was a hockey preseason predictions for the whole season. Definitely check it out. We gave out a player prop for game night one, and it hit, so we're 1-0 in NHL betting. So I'm happy to say that. But I'm going to kick it over to Danny Stone. As you know, he's a writer of Terror Show Times. Before I kick it over, Dan, can you confirm every Sunday, do you write an article on the game log? Is that right?
Yeah, I do an actual game thread, and then I try to do the post-game press conference, which goes out that night or the morning after. And then I do a random ransom, which is mostly a links article. I was actually working on the press conference article. McVay did a press conference today, and I'm working on that article, but I came to do this, and then I'll go finish it up after. And just a heads up, the press conference, like he tries to talk about a bunch of stuff. They just keep hounding him about how the Van Jefferson came to be. It is like really something. I'm getting frustrated for him. It's really pretty funny. But anyways, yeah, we had our guest Sean on Monday, very special first guest. I am doubly excited, or just as excited, however you want to put it, to have a very special guest on today. And our friend Nick, he was kind enough to join us. We're going to talk a little football. I guess I don't know how to pass it off. Do we want Nick to just get right into calling the tomorrow's game, or how do you want to do this, Sammy B?
Well, as our followers know, Danny Stone and I are Rams fans, and Nick is a Patriots fan. So if you want to give us a synopsis, what you think of the season so far and moving forward, how are you feeling about New England right now?
I have like 6, 7, 9 pages of notes here next to me. I came very prepared here, but I think we can crystallize this into a couple words. Very bad. And it's fine. It was a failed rebuild coming out of 2 decades of dominance, right? The news all throughout today, this week, is Bill Belichick is going to get fired. And I mean, I think it's a little foolish. Like, if again, 2 decades of dominance, the first rebuild, yeah, why wouldn't you try to run it back the exact same way that you did the first dynasty, right? And so it's a bad season. I hope they get the 1 pick. I'm unsure of how likely that truly is, but I think Belichick gets at least 1 more rebuild. Frankly, he can have as many as he wants in my eyes, but long and short of it, bad, but we're not too upset, I don't think.
I really like that take, and I was texting you guys a little bit because I see.
Lovely. I know Danny said I picked them last week.
Well, yeah, we've been picking the Patriots, I think, about half the time this year, or at least 2. So either way, I've been seeing like Rex Ryan and a lot, even Mike Florio, and these guys are aspiring. They're who doesn't want to just talk sports all day. So I guess when I say aspiring, I mean that's more what I aspire to be, I guess, to some extent. But like Mike Florio's, like, you get 5 years to win a Super Bowl, and if you don't, it's time to go. And then Rex Ryan's bashing Bill Belichick like Rex Ryan used to outcoach him. I just find the Bill Belichick hate very far, and I'm a Rams fan who genuinely does not like the Patriots or Bill Belichick, and even I find it too far. So I appreciate your take, Nick. And then to your point, Sammy B, and I know I'm backtracking, we have picked kind of the Patriots the last 2 weeks in a row, and I think 1 or 2, at least one time before that. I'm really shocked. I thought Mac Jones was pretty good after his rookie year.
Mac Jones did. The problem with Mac Jones, at least from a fully unqualified human's eyes, is that he hasn't improved over these 3 years. The same sorts of criticisms that were leveled at him coming into college, that he had terrible read progression, that is still there. And so there is the fact that Bill Belichick and the rest of the front office hasn't, really helped him out much by giving him tools to maybe make that journey smoother. But it's not looking great for him. I think a lot of what we can attribute to that first year's success is the fact that, there were returning players within the system. The team was a little bit older, etc. And now we're seeing Mac Jones as he truly is.
Yeah, I just want to jump in. It's my first year playing fantasy football, which is hard to believe in a while. And I was always thinking it's crazy how the Patriots were always winning without, since Randy Moss and Julian Edelman, they never have like, and Gronk. I mean, obviously those names, but outside of them, they just piece together random teams, but they find ways to win. So it's hard to see. I know the COVID year with Cam was kind of a punt year, but as Danny Stone said, as a Rams fan, I personally don't like the Patriots, but I definitely respect Bill Belichick and what they achieve. So it's hard to see them. But Boston has won so much in every sport, so it's funny just seeing them finally losing.
Yes
It's
and
not
no. Well,
too funny.
Yeah.
well, it is. I'll throw this out there too. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think that's a great point as far as just that they had returning players, Mac Jones's rookie year, and since then, and I think that's been the bigger problem with, at least from what I'm kind of picking up from the media, they feel like Bill's not doing enough to replenish and rebuild the team. But I mean, shoot, like Matthew Judon gets hurt, that Gonzalez guy gets hurt, like. It's not for a lack of effort. The only thing, and I'll throw this out there to tie it into the Van Jefferson trade. I actually wondered if the Patriots might have tried to make a swing at him, just because I do think their receiving core, they've got tight ends, but I question their receiving core, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to those guys. They're very talented, including Devontae Parker, but it has not come together for them.
No, and it's been an ongoing weakness for the Patriots. For the last 2 decades, right? They hit on the 3 already mentioned ones: Edelman, Gronk, and Randy Moss, who they traded for 20 years ago, right? Oh, I apologize. Did he just sign in free agency, or did they actually trade for him?
I think he might have signed, and that's a good question. And this is one of the deficits of doing it live, is we make mistakes like this all the time. But
for Randy Moss, I thought it was like a 7th round pick, if I remember. It was like a late 6th, 7th round pick.
That's what I kind of remember too. But either way, it's been a struggle. And the Patriots have invested high draft picks into that, N'Keal Harry being the biggest bust of that. And so there is something to be said that the results aren't there, but the effort, both at the player side and the front office side, is there. It's just not panning out. As a quick aside, Connor Bedard scored a goal, the first of likely 1,500 in his career
for Chicago. Great, and that was a big point of conversation for Sean and Sammy B on our NHL episode. I mean, no doubt. I'm sure I misspoke too when I was quoting Florio, but I swear he said something about teams got to be competitive at least once every 5 years. And I don't know, sometimes it's just not going to go your way. That doesn't mean you should fire, especially a coach like Bill Belichick. So I agree with your previous point, Nick. And Sammy B, if you kind of want to wrap up the topic, or if there's anything else we want to talk about there, I could talk about, I mean, we could do a whole episode just on the Patriots because of how successful they've been. And I know you said they had their dynasty, Nick, but like, that dynasty is like if you split that up, that's multiple dynasties across the league. And that's one team doing that for 20. Like that is, I don't mean to belabor it, but my goodness.
No, yeah, to wrap up the intro, I looked it up real time, manager over here. It was a 4th round pick. But I will say, yeah, in the Patriots defense, the whole division is tough. I mean, Dolphins, unbelievable. Bills, really good. I know Aaron Rodgers is out, but that defense is strong. So I don't think it's just them playing bad. It's the fact that that division is so strong. That's what's probably making them look a little weaker. But I think they're not as bad as people say they are. Maybe it's the Bill Belichick effect, but I don't know. Strong division. So
it has to just be so upsetting to the rest of the AFC East fans that at the time the Patriots are bad, the rest of them are just like good and like beat each other up.
That's funny.
As a Yankees fan, I don't. It's not as fun when I was watching like the Boston versus Yankees when one team sucks. It's like it's not the same. So I believe that. So, but yeah, we're gonna move on over to a recap. This is week 6, but we're gonna recap week 5. I finally beat Danny Stone. I went 9-5. I liked some of the picks I gave out. We recorded on Wednesday, so I gave out a Thursday player prop. I said take over DJ Moore, 48.5 receiving yards. He did that on the 3rd play of the game. Finished with 230. So make sure you follow our player props. We're 2-0 this week with if you count the hockey one. Danny Stone gave me a great idea of maybe doing a little week by week who's winning. So the second week we tied, but I finally won week 5. Look at that. So the only thing I want to point out from week 5 is actually a lot of underdogs won. Bears, Steelers, Jacksonville. There was a lot of underdogs, so I was kind of surprised by that. Before we go into week 6 games, there's any games you guys want to touch on from week 5? I can pull
I'll
up
throw
the.
this out there. It sounds like Dr. Nick's dog loves the underdogs. Very excited to hear it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I need to. I'll kind of talk about the Rams when we talk about the Rams game, which is to just say I'm still excited for the future of LA right now. I know they're 2-3. It's a tough loss to the Eagles, but I mean, going into the season, I didn't think they were going to have a chance. And the fact that I go into that game thinking, wow, the Rams have looked kind of good this year. Like maybe there's a chance. So I'm excited for them. And maybe that's a little bit of bias as a Rams fan, but I mean, shoot, I think if any team had a player like Puka Nacua right now, it's hard not to be excited when you see that. But regardless, yeah, I guess I'm ready to get into week 6. Anything from week 5, Nick, that you want to bring up? Any good picks that you had or anything?
Nothing around the picks. However, as mentioned, I live outside of Chicago and am a Patriots fan. So one of my greatest joys is listening to sports talk radio.
Yeah.
And oh man, the first 4 weeks of this season, I don't think I've ever seen Bears fans like this. Starting in week 1, when they had a glimmer of hope that it was going to be different against the Packers.
Yep.
And then just the realization that it was going to be another 20 years of what's already come before in that rivalry, and then just the absolute breakdown. This last week, we've seen a sort of catharsis. The talk radio is hopeful again. They understand that they're really, really bad, but at least it isn't blowing like a 21-point lead to Broncos bad anymore. And so we need more of that in Chicago. We need less of the first 4 weeks and more of DJ Moore dropping 200 bombs.
It would help me in one of my fantasy leagues. It also killed me in another one. My roommate had DJ Moore, but that's all right. No, that's a great take, and I think to your point, Sammy B, if I may, and this is backtracking to like a preseason episode. I think the Bears might be the most improved team. Like they won 3 games last year. They're easily going to win 6 this year. No, it is really not good. And we still don't know whatever happened to the defensive coordinator. A lot of weird rumors about that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot who I picked for most improved. This is the week 5 we're looking at right now. Only highlights I have was you're still right that Denver is the worst team in the league. Kind of shocked. I was kind of a little bored by the Sunday night game. I thought Dallas put up a bigger fight.
It was boring.
And then Desmond Ritter.
It so I could see my buddy beat me with Brock Purdy, which I'm in a league with Nick. It was so disappointing. But other than that, there was no point to watch. I mean, it was dreadful.
Yeah, and then Desmond Ritter remains undefeated at home, 5-0 in the NFL, and with a 26-0 in 26-0 in college and 5-0 in the NFL. So undefeated at home. So
it is the most mind-boggling stat I read this week because I've watched all of the Atlanta Falcon games. I watched them laugh. Desmond Ritter is not an NFL quarterback. I understand he put up 30 points. I understand that man threw a bunch of touchdowns last week. I think they were luck.
They are. Now, all right, so we'll hop into this week. This is week 6. So as you know, every 3 weeks we'll change the logos out. This is the last time you'll see his logos this time around. We got Thursday night, Denver going to Kansas City, who I think they'll have Travis Kelce. I know he rolled his ankle. Kansas City 10.5-point favorite. Go ahead, Danny Stone. Let's just start with this one.
He's expected to play, said my ESPN fantasy app or my sleeper app. One or both said he's expected to play, which that can change. But I guess that being said, I think we're all going to probably pick the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, if you want to get cute and pick the Broncos, and maybe the Broncos put up a fight. And I'll say this too, Sammy B. I at that time, I did think Denver was the worst team. Then I thought it was the Bears. After last week, it might have shifted back to Denver. I mean, I guess you can say Carolina, but it's like I'm giving them a free pass with the there's no reason for the Denver Broncos. Like it's one thing to be 1-4, but they shouldn't even probably have that win. Like it's just bizarre. I can't explain it. So I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs. Pretty easy.
Yeah, and I've said before on the show, I don't know what it is. I'm taking Kansas City to win. But in the betting world, Kansas City doesn't cover. I think last year they covered 2 games. 10.5 is a lot, so I would avoid taking the spread. I'm just for our show, I'm taking Kansas City. My player prop, nothing really jumps out at me. I'm thinking Javonte Smith or Devontae Williams, what it is. I took his under 38.5 yards. It's already down to 36.5. So if you can still find it 38.5 anywhere, I'd take the under with that.
I like
I
that
agree.
McLaughlin guy better. Not that I'm an expert or anything. I've only seen like him play 2 snaps, but yeah, I don't know.
That's why I'm taking under for Williams. I think he's going to see less touches. I think he hurt his hip, so he's not 100%. So again, I took under 30.5. It's already down to 36.5. So
I like that.
What about you, Nick? I was thinking you might agree with this, like Kansas City, right? Or what are you thinking for this game?
Yeah, nothing too surprising. I think if Kelsey doesn't play, I think taking the 10.5 makes a lot more sense. If he doesn't, I don't know. Have we just considered that the Broncos are just so bad at football? I don't know.
Yeah. No, some of these, I figure we'd all agree on that one. This next one could be interesting. We've got to go back to another game in England. Now we got Baltimore going to Tennessee. Well, going to England against Tennessee. I know these games are always low scoring. I had the under first half last week, so that hit. Didn't give on the show. I'm going to start giving out some plays on Twitters. I know the first quarter 7.5 points. I'm leaning towards under there, but we'll start with you, Nick. Who do you like in this matchup? What are you thinking for this game?
Oh, I'm not a particular fan of the way that the Tennessee Titans play football, so I'm going to pick against them aesthetically. It's going to be a low-scoring battle in the trenches fight. I don't know. Is Derrick Henry going to go for 130 yards? If yes, Titans. If no, I think Baltimore may sneak a couple touchdowns through the air.
Yeah, I like it. I think Baltimore, I know they lost last week, but that's a division game. I think they're going to not have as many drops. Both teams are traveling at the same time, so there's no difference really in the travel. So I'm taking Baltimore here. I have them edging out Tennessee.
A part of me wants to take Tennessee just to try to like make up some ground from last week with our predictions, but I agree exactly with what Nick said as far as the Derrick Henry, like he can go off and Tennessee can win, but I don't know. Tannehill really is. I like him, but he does not look good, and that team looks questionable. And I think Mike Vrabel's a good coach, so it's kind of strange to see it. It might be a down year for Tennessee, and I still think Vrabel's a good coach, so I'll be curious if he ends up on the hot seat. I don't think he should. I'm going to pick Baltimore for this game as well, and we'll see what happens. Always can be strange in London for two teams that, I mean, they're not Jacksonville, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and right now the odds are Ravens -4, the best odds.
Okay.
All right, we'll go over the next game. Since you guys started first, I'll start this one. I had higher hopes for New Orleans this year. Texans are looking pretty good with C.J. Stroud, but from my understanding, Tank Dell might miss. And the other guy they have might miss too, Robert Woods. Kamara's looking better and better each week that he's back, so I'm actually going to take the Saints in this one. Now let either one of you go next. Who you think
I've gone back and forth. If you have a flag to plant, Nick, I'll hear you out. I've kind of gone back and forth with this one.
Mainline CJ Stroud directly into the veins. The man is going to be a superstar. I don't know. I've really enjoyed watching him the last 5 weeks. It seems as though even when they're down 10 points, you know he's going to score some points and make it a game. I want to see him keep winning. Are the Saints better? Yeah, probably, but only this year.
Yeah, the Saints are coming off their big win against New England. The Saints have done better than I thought they would. I think I underestimated their defense, and Derek Carr is a professional quarterback with Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. Chris Olave's, he hasn't really gone off yet. I expect that to pick up. So I think I'm going to take the Saints as well, but I think I'm rooting for the Texans. I like the upset. And I also, I mean, how can you not like CJ Stroud? And I really liked D'Amico Ryans going into the season just because I saw what his defense did to the Rams the last couple of years. I just thought he might be a good coach. I don't know.
Yeah, Nick, in one of our prior episodes, we talked about CJ Stroud set the record for most passing yards by an NFL quarterback that went to Ohio State. So he's definitely looking pretty good. I'm just taking the Saints here. So
who's number 2 on that list?
I don't know. I don't know if
that's what I asked him.
Isn't the joke about Ohio State is that like once the QBs go to the NFL, they're just generically pretty poor?
See, I always thought that about Alabama, and then now they have Tua, Jalen Hurts, your boy Mac Jones.
Your boy.
So I don't know. So
my boy, that's what we took away from our conversation.
Yeah.
Well, and I think of Cardale Jones, and then SamMeeBee reminded me that, and rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. He was Ohio State, but not too
Terrell
many
Pryor.
Ohio State quarterbacks come to my mind. So I don't know who number 2 is on that list.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this website here. It shows you the best odds. So what it means is it could be different in different sports books, but they have the Saints favored by 1. So definitely a close matchup according to the books. Could go either way. I don't see it moving before kickoff because when it's 1, it's usually 1.5 at that time of kickoff.
I might text you to change my pick over the weekend, SamMeeBee, but I'm going to go with the Saints right now.
Yeah.
You what you said about Kamara kind of put me over. He has looked pretty good, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, yep, and then we'll go over to the next game. We got Washington Commanders going to Atlanta. I'll start first with this one again. I can't go against Desmond Ridder at home. I can't go against him. I think Bijan had a weak couple weeks, looked weak the last couple weeks. So I'm hoping he has a bounce back game against a not very strong Washington defense right now. So I'm taking Atlanta here.
We're in an NFL pool, and I believe it's clouding your judgment because I know you have incentive for Atlanta to win, but I also get it. I'm going to go with the Commanders. I think they ruined the Steelers' win streak a couple of years ago. They ruined Philadelphia's win streak last year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they win. They beat Desmond Ridder's at home streak this weekend. I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders.
No, it's the Falcons. The streak remains.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. It's inexplicable.
Yeah.
But you got it's foretold in the stars.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm just surprised Jonnu Smith, the tight end's getting a lot of targets there with all the Kyle Pitts there.
Well, so it's a little bit interesting in that the Kyle Pitts is called a tight end, but he doesn't line up in line at all. He lines up out wide, and so like I think a big struggle that Desmond Ridder has is being able to like look at people across the field. So a lot of Jonnu Smith's routes, unlike Kyle Pitts, are like always within him. It's always like a little slant across, or it's just a seam, and he's just looking at him. And so with that, it's really bizarre at how Arthur Smith is deploying Kyle Pitts within this offense because he's obviously better than Jonnu Smith, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right now the best odds on this one is Atlanta -2.5, so actually a favorite here, so it should be interesting. I forgot to mention because one of my buddies texted me for fantasy football. He asked who he should start. One of his options is C.J. Stroud. I forgot to mention in that New Orleans Houston game, I think it's going to be low scoring. It's one of my bets this week. I'm taking under 42.5. I think it's just going to be New Orleans hasn't scored much. I know last game they did, but take that one game away, going back to last season, they just haven't scored much. Again, Houston's got those injuries.
No, that's fair. I'll throw this out there too. Number 1, we love to keep our pools friendly around here. Number 2, the Falcons, this is a game they should win, but I don't think they will win. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then I can segue into the next game if I may, because I'm starting Trevor Lawrence in a league over CJ Stroud, which can tie us into Jacksonville Colts. I expect I'm going to pick Jacksonville. They have that losing streak going on against the Colts, if I'm not mistaken. They've lost 10 in a row or something really obnoxious. But I'm going to pick Jacksonville. I think they're getting their stride. They won 2 in a row in London. They're back in the States. I think they'll be feeling good. Travis Etienne looked great, and I don't expect them to give Travis Etienne as many touches as they did a week ago. I think we might see Trevor Lawrence throwing it and running around and having a really solid a Trevor Lawrence takeover game is what I'm thinking. We'll see.
Trevor Lawrence takeover game.
Yeah, I think he's really good.
Okay, and so that's where I was trying to go. Well, how good? Like he's obviously not a generational talent as though he was described when he was coming in. Is that accurate?
I'm willing. I think he could be that though. I'm willing to give him some time.
Still?
I mean, yeah, I think he is really good. I think I don't think he's going to have the arm of Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert might be like a Matthew Stafford. It's like, wow, look at all this arm talent. But what's that get you? Obviously there's Patrick Mahomes. I'll put Joe Burrow in that conversation. Josh Allen forced himself into that conversation. A lot of people were like, he can't hit anybody, can't hit the broadside of a barn. And then they get Stephon Diggs and look at his passing, completion percentage. It shot up, go figure. So I get your point. I probably might not put Trevor Lawrence in a top 10 list or even definitely not a top 5 of just pure quarterbacking. but I think he's a winner. And I know that's corny, it's cliche, but I'm going to go with it. I think he's a winner. I think he'll scramble at the right time. He'll run around. He'll take field goals. They said it on the broadcast last week. His weakness, I guess, he takes a lot of strip sacks. He loses a lot of fumbles in the pocket, which I saw Goff do that a long time, and I think he's outgrown that at this point. Hopefully, Jared Goff. So I think Trevor Lawrence. You can win games with them. I think we'll see him. Yeah, he's a winner.
Do you think at any point in his career he will be let's say a consensus top 5 quarterback?
That's a really good question. If there's a number of injuries, and which that probably sounds really rude, but like if your top 3 quarterbacks going into the season get hurt, I could see him maybe being in that top 5 conversation. Yeah. And maybe he even takes another step forward. Because I'll say this about Desmond Ridder too, and even Sam Howell with the last game we talked about. Like, I don't think Sam Howell's that great, but what do I know? He started like 5 games. I don't think Desmond Ridder's that great, but I don't even think he started 10 games yet. So I'm willing to give them time to develop, time to grow. And I think considering that Trevor Lawrence overcame, and I know this is low-hanging fruit, but that Urban Meyer thing did happen.
Yeah.
And he's still in the NFL. And they made the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game against Justin Herbert, who I mentioned earlier. I think Doug Peterson's a heck of a coach, too. I thought it was crazy. He must have really butted heads in Philadelphia. I thought that was crazy they got rid of him, but Nick Sirianni's doing his thing. So
I'd say Trevor Lawrence definitely top in the NFL when it comes to good hair, so I'll give him that. So I guess before I go over my take, Nick, who were you thinking Indianapolis then? Are you not on the bandwagon for Trevor Lawrence?
Oh no, I'm fully invested into the Jaguars. I haven't seen, for as much discourse that there is around the NFL, around quarterbacks, around this concept of being elite, it really seems as though that for the last 18 months since the Urban Meyer fiasco, we haven't had those conversations about Trevor Lawrence. And when we all left off when he came into the league, he was that next generational talent. He was the next Peyton Manning, the next Andrew Luck. And while they both struggled in their first year, there was that essence in them that we would point at and be like, winner, gonna win 1 billion games of the NFL. And again, I'm woefully unqualified to make those sorts of claims, but I just don't feel that from Trevor Lawrence. Not to say that he's a bad quarterback by any stretch. I think even at his worst, he's probably like a top 15. But I'm unsure if we would ever really consider him in that upper echelon of QBs.
That was definitely an interesting game. Jacksonville opened up as a 6.5-point favorite. The money's been flowing on Indianapolis. It's now down to Jacksonville -4.5. I jokingly told Danny Stone last week while we were watching football, if I would have known Gardner Minshew was playing, I would have taken the Colts. I love Gardner Minshew, former Jacksonville Jaguar. Jacksonville just traveled back from London. Everything's telling me to take Indianapolis, especially because all the money and the sharps on Indianapolis. But I think I'm taking Jacksonville. I think Calvin Ridley didn't get in the end zone last week, but he got a lot more targets than he did the weeks prior. So I think to kind of piggyback what Danny Stone was saying, Travis Etienne might not have as many touches, but I think it's because we got the weapons out there. Zay Jones, Ridley, and Christian Kirk. So I could see it could be a fun game to watch. So I'm taking Jacksonville here.
This is a game that I would agree as far as taking the over in. I don't know what the over-under is, but I think it's going to be like a 24-21 type game. I guess I should know what the over-under is before I say that. But I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than Baltimore, Tennessee for sure. Like I also think the Colts are better than I thought they were going into the year. And good for Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew revenge game. Good call, Sammy B. I hadn't even thought about that.
The over-under is around 45.5 right now. Most of the money's on the under. But
wow. Okay. Well, what do I know?
Well, again, most of the money's well.
What are y'all's thoughts on Jonathan Taylor coming back? Are we going to see a lot of usage? Zach Moss had a great game last week.
Zach Moss looks good, and I always liked. I guess I always liked him just because he was like big. Like it reminded me of like Derrick Henry when the Bills drafted him. I was like, wow, that's a big guy. Like Josh Allen can just lean on him. And then Josh Allen was like, no, I want all the hits. Which good for him, I guess. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think it's really interesting too that Taylor got his extension. Like from my standpoint, I guess the Colts and him must have had an agreement where he knew he was getting extended because, like, I was just kind of shocked by that. Like, the Colts got their guy back and then they extended him. I mean, it could have all been avoided, but maybe his ankle injury was more serious than I ever really thought. So, good player. I mean, he's a great running back.
I was there in Buffalo when he had all those touchdowns and just made everyone leave in the fourth quarter. So he's a great player. I don't know how the rest is going to affect him. And like Dan said, Zach Moss looking really good. So I don't know. I don't have input yet on Jonathan Taylor. Got to see him a little more. Division games are always interesting, so it's fun.
Yeah, I thought it was a good move when the Colts. I think they traded, or I think they traded for Zach Moss from Buffalo, and I liked it then. It's paying off now.
Oh, yeah. All right, we'll move over to the next one. It's actually a 4 p.m. game. I accidentally put it with the 1 p.m. games. We'll let Nick start this one. We got Detroit going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay just coming off a bye, so just a reminder for that. Who you got in this game?
Detroit. I love Detroit. I love what they're doing up in Detroit. I love all of it. I love watching them. They have so many skill players. Every time the Jared Goff throws a ball, it's finding someone different. And yet still Amon-Ra St. Brown will have 12 receptions on 14 targets. I love the way they're humming on offense. They got a couple defensive linemen who have been getting to the QB at will over the last few weeks. And TB12 isn't the QB of the Buccaneers anymore. Detroit, all of the numbers take the spread. All of them.
Yeah, I like his enthusiasm. Do you want to go, Sammy B?
I was let you know. I'll go last because Tampa Bay or Detroit's a 3.5-point favorite, so close. It's pretty close. Go ahead, Dan. Let you go second.
I do really like Detroit. I like everything that Nick said. I think it's really interesting when he brings up the skill position players because I find myself thinking about Jameson Williams, who like you maybe could argue is like the fourth or fifth best receiver right now on that team, which is kind of wild because he's got a lot of talent from what I mean, a couple plays last year, he was just burning defenses. But so he's back in the fold. I really like Baker Mayfield with the Buccaneers. However, I think in our preseason picks, I had the Lions winning the division. And I think for them to do that, they need to win games like this. So I am going to take the Detroit Lions as well. And I still think that the Buccaneers are a good team who will be around down the line.
Speaking of preseason picks, if you had talked to me in preseason, I would not have guessed as a battle of two first-place teams. That's for sure.
That's a good point.
Looking at it, Tampa just coming off a bye. Baker Mayfield fired up. I know his Oklahoma Sooners just won the pretty big game against Texas. And you know what? I like uniforms. Sometimes I think that helps players play better. They're going to be doing the orange creamsicles, so I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Really?
This game. Yeah,
you like those?
That's a strong reason. I may flip on that.
Yeah,
the creamsicles are back. That's dope.
I'm taking the creamsicles this weekend. I'm taking Tampa Bay. I
They
think
look like
coming off
Broncos uniforms.
I like those Broncos ones last week. So
yeah, I like their first 26 games in those jerseys.
That's all right. It's a different time, and they lost with Josh Freeman too. I think when he wore those last. So.
Oh wow. Wow.
We'll see. All right, we'll move on over to the next game. If I understand, this might be an ugly weather game. Minnesota going to Chicago. I'll start with this one. I think it's going to be a lot of running because of bad weather, but the Bears are missing Herbert, and then I'm thinking missing other running backs. So basically, they have to rely on Justin Fields running the ball. I know Justin Jefferson's out, but they have a pretty good number 2 receiver in Addison, and that running back they have, and it's got Cam Akers. Because of the stronger running with this, I'm taking Minnesota to win this game. All right, and then let Danny Stone go next. We'll kind of circle over.
I like that. Yeah, we can, and then Nick can lead off next game. I like that. That's good. That's good continuity. I am gonna take the Vikings as well. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and just because I'm respectful to Alexander Madison, who's been in the league a while, I think they kind of made the Cam Akers move because they don't want Alexander Madison handling 20 touches a game. So I think this could be the game where maybe Cam Akers starts to usurp him as the lead back, but I could be wrong about that 100%. It's not like I have any actual source. That's just my guess. But I'm going to take the Vikings as well. I think they're a more complete roster than the Bears. But if the Bears win, and I love the logo you have there with the honey, I mean, if it's a really ugly game and both quarterbacks are getting sacked, I could see Justin Fields being the difference as far as, he breaks off that 30-yard run they needed to get in field goal range to win the game at the end. But if Minnesota gets a lead, I think they'll be able to hold it. So Minnesota.
Yeah. Maybe I should ask you what you think the spread is. This one, it's only -2.5 for Minnesota. Maybe it's a tough divisional game, or because they expect low scoring with bad weather. But if it was 3.5, I could see the Bears possibly covering. But I think the Vikings just win this one. So,
Yep.
what about you, Nick? What are you feeling? What are you feeling for this one?
I'm feeling that no one should bet on this game. Like the Bears are obviously bad, but they have shown moments where they put out a competent offense. On the flip side, we have the Vikings who like to present themselves as a competently run franchise, but they're not. They're not more than two steps removed from being the Bears during any season. And so with that, are the Vikings going to Viking or are the Bears going to Bears? I don't.
Great.
I don't know. I like the Bears at home.
Okay. Yeah.
Good pick. Okay. I respect it. Sammy B and I both really thought the Vikings were going to have a lot better season than they have. And apparently those one-score games last year, they're not winning them this year. So I don't know.
It's funny because there's been picks where I look so good, taking like last week when I took the Bears, took over DJ Moore. So sometimes I look really good. But then I also said preseason Vikings are going to run away with this division. They're going to have 10 wins. So sometimes I'm wrong. So you can't be right all the time. So yeah, this is probably my worst take so far this year was being so high on the Vikings. So this next game should be interesting. I feel like it's going to be like the Thursday night game. I feel we're all going to agree. We got Carolina going to Miami, which is fun. I love their head coach. But we'll start with Nick here. What do you think? Any inputs on this game?
I don't think that we give enough blame to Carolina for the predicament that they're in. They again, I know we just got done talking about the Bears and I talked about the Patriots and the words to describe them are bad, but Carolina's future is hopeless. They don't even have the materials to trade for a real wide receiver for Bryce Young. They don't have their first round pick next year. They're going to lose this game and they're going to lose like the next 32 games. Yeah, Miami by a bunch.
Yeah. And yeah, because they traded away Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore last season or season off season, so it is crazy. I'm definitely taking Miami. I have no other inputs. Go ahead, Danny Stone.
No, I mean both I think are. I mean, Christian McCaffrey is a bona fide star. I would say DJ Moore is a star. He's a number one receiver, I think. And it's funny that they traded him to the Bears. So even as bad as the Bears season gets, I mean, they have 2 first-round picks next year, if I'm not mistaken, including the one from Carolina, which that might very well be the first overall pick in the draft, which is crazy.
They may honestly pick Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. to go with DJ Moore. And then,
that's crazy on rookie contracts.
Did you say the Bears have 2 first-round picks?
Don't the Texans have Carolinas?
I thought there's another team too. I can't remember if it was Arizona or Texans. I think I have 2 first-round picks too.
You very well could be.
It may be right, Arizona. But I don't know. Texan used their 2 this last season, picking CJ Stroud and
Will Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This will be the first time the Rams have a first-round pick in 8 years. So, can't wait for the draft.
If they traded they asked McVay in the press conference which I still got to watch the rest of it, but they're like, "Are you going to make any moves mid-season?" And he's like, "We don't really have the resources to do that." No, and it's like, well, you kind of do. I don't know. I thought that was an interesting answer. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm going to pick Miami. It's really not close. I think Nick's right. Carolina kind of put themselves in this situation, but I'm willing to give them a pass because it's a number 1 overall pick who does need some developing, it looks like. I also heard, and I think I heard this on the Rich Eisen show, apparently, and I don't know how this can be proven, Frank Reich wanted CJ Stroud. The Carolina owner wanted Bryce Young. And that may or may not be leading to some conflict between the two of them, seeing CJ Stroud just balling out. And Bryce Young, again, I want to be respectful to the kid, but like they're more likely to win a game with Andy Dalton right now, who's the backup. So, yeah, Carolina's a mess.
No, I believe it. So, yeah, we'll stick with that because, we're all in Miami. This next game, I'm surprised the spread is what it is. We got San Francisco going to Cleveland. San Francisco's only favored by 6.5. I see them winning by double digits. They're unstoppable. I say it every week. I hate San Francisco. I should probably find a better word than hate, but I got to give props. I just don't understand how Brock Purdy is doing it. So I'm taking San Francisco here minus the spread and everything. What do you go about you, Danny Stone? Who are you feeling for this game?
He's still not getting the credit he deserves, and I don't like to admit it, but people are just like, plug in. like people are like, plug in Mac Jones, plug in anybody, and it's like Brock Purdy's doing it. Like there's something to be said for that. Like he's actually doing it. I think it's. So I'm assuming Sammy B, because if you said it, I didn't hear you. You definitely just picked Miami over Carolina, right? That's pretty much.
Oh yeah.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to pick the 49ers as well. I don't even know if Deshaun Watts is playing. His injury might be more serious than they're letting on. I like Jerome Ford. I like the young running back. I like Myles Garrett. Cleveland has some players. They're going to get mollywopped by the San Francisco 49ers.
I tend to agree with y'all. It's a little bit disappointing that Cleveland's offense is so bad for a variety of reasons. Injuries don't help. Guaranteed contracts don't help because Cleveland's defense is very good, and it would be pretty cool watching two complete teams go at it. But unfortunately, I think the Niners will wear them down quickly and win by $1 billion.
It would be really funny if
That's what I'm
Cleveland wants to win, though. I would love it, but I don't think so.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if the books think Deshaun's going to play. If that's why it's only 6.5. Because if it's the backup, it's got to be bigger spread than that. So I don't know.
They must know something we don't. Maybe Kyle Shanahan's all, because he coached for the Browns. Maybe he just is all emotion and he's not going to be thinking right. And maybe Denzel Ward just makes Brock Purdy look bad for the first time in a while. But I don't think those things are going to happen.
Interesting. All right, we'll wrap it up. Well, not wrap it up, but we'll wrap up the 1:00 games. We got Seattle going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, some books have them as a 2.5-point favorite, some 3.5-point favorite. I'll start with you, Danny Stone. Who you liking in this game?
I've been going back and forth because Cincinnati, Zach Taylor runs a similar system as Sean McVay does, and Sean McVay, not to jinx anything, but it came to fruition in week 1. Sean McVay usually beats Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. I've seen Seattle beat McVay as well. But I believe McVay has more wins over Pete Carroll than the other way around. So I think Cincinnati's offense should be good. Unfortunately for Cincinnati, and unfortunately for me as a Rams fan, I think the Seattle Seahawks are a more complete team. I think after a while they'll land on lay into them with either Walker or the rookie Chardonnay. I think their running game will get going. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Seattle Seahawks, which is too bad.
Yeah, I'll go second here. Preseason I said the Bengals would be bad. I took under their wins. And I don't know if a bye week actually helps a team coming out. I should probably look up stats on that because Seattle also coming off a bye week. Because I just am not buying into the Bengals right now. I know they looked really good last week, but it's against Arizona. I'm taking Seattle as well.
I'll take the Bengals. I don't think it's too close here. I think we know exactly what Seattle is. I don't think that we've seen the ceiling of the Bengals. I think Jamar Chase continues rolling. Joe Burrow continues to be healthy. It wouldn't surprise me if this is double digits in favor of the Bengals at the end of it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, did I skip you on your pick for the Browns game?
I don't think so.
No, he picked the Niners. He said
Niners. Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
He said win by $1 billion, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Well, he said that about Miami, I thought. So, but yeah.
Both
a lot of blowouts this week.
Yeah.
There really are. Like those two games especially, but even Kansas City and Denver, like some of these matchups, it's like Philadelphia versus the Jets. Like, I mean, any given Sunday, but some of these matchups, like that, I don't know, man. You might have convinced me on the Bengals, Nick. I don't mean to. That's why I'm struggling right now. But I think I'll stick with Seattle. But
I want to take Cincinnati because they looked really good last week. But
like they did. And I thought they were going to be good going into the year. That's where you've had me beat all year, Sammy B. I thought the Bengals were going to be a good team, and they've looked bad. They beat the Rams, that's for sure. But really, they have not looked as good as I thought they would. But maybe if Joe Burrow gets healthier, I think Nick brought up a lot of great points.
I need one of those soundboards. They are who we thought they were.
They are who
I thought they were.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think we'll just go to the next game. Arizona going to Los Angeles Rams. I think I know who Danny Stone and I are taking. So we'll start with Nick on this one. Any inputs on this game?
Yeah, I'll beat y'all to the punch. It's gonna be the Rams. That said, I've had a lot of fun watching the Cardinals games the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
Dobbs seems to be at least a serviceable quarterback. I'm gonna butcher the running back's name, so I'm not even gonna say it. But the waiver wire that has like 2 million ads on Sleeper this week. He runs real hard. He's very fast. Yeah, a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, Rams.
Is James Conner out this game? I didn't check the injury report.
James Conner is he will be not playing.
So not financial advice, but when it comes to gambling, sometimes I do a look ahead. I try to take spreads before they move. So I actually made a bet last week before the week 5 games. I got the Rams at -4.5. It's already up to 6.5, 7.5 in some books. So I'm still liking it. I think Aaron Donald didn't get the quarterback much last game, and I think he definitely wants to get to Josh Dobbs. So I'm taking the Rams, no question.
Josh Dobbs has been fun to watch. I'll throw this out there. Like, I think Atlanta, I think they're ready to go. Like, plug in a Josh Dobbs, and I bet they're a better team. I mean, again, all respect to Desmond Ridder, but it's amazing how Dobbs is just kind of like a contract for hire. He comes in and he does all right.
Josh Dobbs on the away games for them. Ridder at home.
I love that. That's a great. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rams. If the Rams lose this game, I think Sammy B, you and I will probably be looking at the Rams a little bit differently. This is a game that I think they need to win if they really want to be competitive later in the season. I mean, anything can happen, but right now this is a game I think they need to win and should win, respectfully to the Cardinals, who have really put a lot of effort. People thought they were tanking. That does not look like the case.
Okay. Yeah, we'll move on to the next game. I will say sometimes a team puts a bad taste in your mouth. Last year, for example, if I bet the Yankees to win, they would lose. If I bet the Yankees to lose, they win. That's how I feel with the Patriots right now. So I'll let Nick start this one. You're a Patriots fan. Tell me about this game, what you're thinking, and can the Patriots pull it off, or what's going on with this game?
Okay, well, so I apologize. I've been staring at this image for an hour now. I have no idea who the two swords are.
I'm sorry. It's the Raiders.
It's the Raiders. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Who knows who better? Does Josh McDaniels know Bill Belichick better? Or is Josh McDaniels exactly who we know he is? The Patriots win this game on nothing more than the Raiders front office and head coaching staff being worse.
The Raiders beat the Patriots last year off of that fluky play where Jacoby Myers, I think, tries to throw it, and he throws it.
Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, and so I think I'm going to pick the. Yeah, you're right, Sammy B. I'm going to pick the Raiders and watch the. I should pick the Patriots because I actually want the Raiders to win for a couple reasons, but I'm gonna pick New England. I'm gonna pick the Raiders. I almost called them Oakland. I'm gonna pick the Vegas Raiders. Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback right now than Mac Jones, and that's why.
Oh man, hold on. Can we talk about this for a little bit? Thinking about it, there's a lot to unpack here, right? Because Jacoby Myers and Jimmy Garoppolo on the Patriots right now, they're a playoff contender for sure. And like those were sort of like self-obvious decisions that they should have made at each of those times. Now I'm all upset, team.
Oh, that's okay. Jimmy G gets hurt a lot. I mean, and you guys get rid of Jimmy G and you win another ring. You guys beat the Rams.
That did happen.
Brian Hoyer helped you guys beat the Rams this year. I don't know if we've talked about this. Like, he knew the Kyle Shanahan offense. So, like, he knew the McVay offense. And he was like, guys, this is what they're going to do. These are the signals they use. And Bill Belichick took Sean McVay and his high-flying offense to the three-point zone. I mean, that was – so I think point being, I think the trade of Garoppolo worked out for you in a very strange long-run way. But if you guys could have had Garoppolo to like train under Tommy B, if they would have done that, I mean,
they did for 3 years, and then he left at the end of the rookie contract.
Right, which I can't blame him. It would, I guess, it would have been impossible to keep both of them. I feel like, and that's kind of, I agree, and that's kind of what I guess I was trying to say.
I know we've, or at least I've spent some time bashing Bill Belichick, the GM, tonight. However, the one thing that he seems to be sort of exceptional at is grooming NFL QBs. Like, obviously, we have Brady as the GOAT. But then even behind that, we have like Brian Hoyer and Matt Cassell and Jimmy Garoppolo. Even Zappy
Jacoby.
is the backup. Brissett is another one. And it's a little bit interesting that within the NFL, there's probably 10 or 11 teams that have a Bill Belichick drafted quarterback on their roster.
Bailey Zappi, I thought looked good last year, which, I'm not an expert or anything, but that one game where he comes in and starts throwing tutties after they bench Mac Jones, like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't disagree. Bill Belichick can, as gruff as he is, I guess he has a way with the quarterbacks.
I just want to point out, because you brought up Jacoby Brissett. Right now, he's with Washington wearing number 12. I thought I saw a stat somewhere that there hasn't been a starting quarterback. Basically, this is the first time no one's wearing number 12 as a starting quarterback since like the early Brady days, pre-Brady days.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt in week 1.
No, he wears 8 for
He wears 8
the
for the Jets, doesn't he?
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's college
didn't even
number. So
realize
there's no number 12 starter, and it's been a long time. So just a random thing. I don't have much to say on this one. I said until the Patriots prove me otherwise, they're starting to look like Denver, where I can't pick them until I see something different. So I'm taking Vegas in this one.
Yep.
And Dan, so you stick with Vegas then?
I'm going to stick with Vegas.
Well, lucky.
I'm going to stick with
Vegas. They got a big Monday night win. Actually, we'll use that to spin over to the next. We don't need to touch on them, but the bye week, we got the Packers. I think if Aaron Jones played last week, I think it would have been a different matchup or a different outcome. Pittsburgh also on a bye. Still crazy what's going on with that offensive coordinator situation. I saw the fans were chanting at the Penguins game to fire him. So hopefully they figure something out. That's a mess there. So
Pittsburgh is a fun place.
Yeah,
I have to imagine that like Canadian fans like watching it for hockey are like, why am I catching strays? What did we do here? They have no concept of like Canada being a coach.
That's such a
and his name is Canada too. So
like,
I
would have never. That's hilarious, dude. That's so funny.
All right, we'll move on over to the Eagles Jets. I feel like this might be another game we all are agreeing on, but I just want to point out: did you know the Jets are like the Jets in real life? They hate birds. They're 1-13 the last 14 games against bird teams. Give me the Eagles.
That's a really fun stat. I'm going to take the Eagles as well. My bad about not knowing Aaron Rodgers' jersey number. Maybe if he was playing, I'd look at this a little bit differently, but he's not. The only thing that I'll say is that defense is better than I thought they were. The Jets are minus the offensive line, which probably needs some work. They're a good team. Zach Wilson, good luck to him going with the Birds.
What's the spread by chance?
6.5, I believe, is the most popular one, which is surprising.
Ooh.
Actually, it's 7. It's more. It's the move push up to 7. I mean, this thing I'm looking at says best odds, so it's saying -7, but most sports books have a hook with 7.5.
I think that's a very interesting line. I think it's fully dependent on whether or not you're getting Zach Wilson, the below average quarterback, or Zach Wilson, the worst quarterback since Nathan Peterman. And Jets defense is certainly for real. People are currently looking for reasons why they aren't real. Today's little tidbit was that Sauce Gardner leads the league in missed tackles with 8, and I don't know, that's big, like, worst tackling position has the worst tackler sort of information for you. I do think we get worst quarterback of all time, Zach Wilson.
Interesting. I might look at player props. Yeah, this might be one I look at Wilson's under everything, under completions, under yards, under everything. So we'll look at that. Actually, you can actually bet. I should have brought this up. You can actually bet on like the first drive, the result. I think I did for fun. I did a little parlay of Patriots and Jets to punt on their first drive. So we'll see. More in the turnover.
You should take that every single week.
It was. I did 4 teams. It was Jets, Patriots, Bears, and I think the Giants. So if you're cool with it, we can move on to the next game. I have the Giants punting right away. This one opened up. I like looking at sometimes seeing the spread move. This one opened up at 10.5, and now it's at 13.5, almost 14.5 in favor of the Bills. I think Danny Dimes is out. I'm obviously taking Buffalo here.
Same. I've been saying even all year and in the preseason, I've been kind of rude about it. I think that Daniel Jones is not very good. I'm not saying he doesn't belong in the NFL, but I wouldn't want him as my franchise quarterback. I think the Giants looked better than they really are, and they're a bad team. I'm going to take the Bills as well.
What happened between the end of the first game of the season and everything that we've seen since with the Giants? Because they beat the brakes off of the Cardinals like 40-0, right?
They came back. They were down against the Cardinals a lot.
Oh, that was week 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they came back from 21 down.
Yeah. So last year they knocked Minnesota out of the playoffs, and that I thought that was a big upset. And I'll give props to Rex Ryan. I don't know. I see Rex Ryan talk sometimes, and I remember at the time he's like, Minnesota's going to win, Minnesota's going to lose. It's the Giants kind of game to win. And I was like, this guy's out of his mind. No, the Giants knocked Minnesota out, and then they signed Darren Waller. They signed Daniel Jones to the extension. They worked it out with Saquon Barkley. They had a draft. I mean, on paper, they should be a better team. I just thought that last year, and I hate to put it this way because you can't really quantify this, the first game of the year, they win on a 2-point conversion, and that was their momentum, and they rode it into the playoffs. I think Brian Dable is a good coach. Danny Dimes, and blame the offensive line if you want, fine. But like Danny Dimes too, like that's a bad offense.
They annoy me, the Giants. So the teams I dislike the most, the Cowboys and the 49ers, but something about the Giants. Maybe it's they're always on prime time. They just annoy me. And going back to that playoff game, I actually picked the Giants to win. I forgot I don't have my stat or my information because I was last year pulled up. I remember I was big on the Giants. Maybe it's because it's prime time and Kirk Cousins can't win in prime time. So I'm not surprised they won the Giants, but yeah, they're just terrible. So
they really look bad. I know that's mean to say. I know they're trying.
So, yeah, Nick, if you want to give your pick for this game, and then whenever you feel ready, go ahead and move on to the Monday night game after that.
Bills by $1 billion. Let's close it out with Monday night.
Bills, billions.
Chargers and Cowboys.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Cute little
Very,
logo
very
there.
interesting matchup. Justin Herbert with a fractured finger. Dallas with just getting steamrolled by the 49ers last week. Kind of a toss-up. Chargers are at home. I really love that offense. I do think that offense is better than the Cowboys' defense. Van Der Esch is out. Micah Parsons is dealing with whatever residuals are from the injuries he picked up. I don't think Dak is a good quarterback anymore. Chargers.
I think both these teams. Go ahead, SamMeeBee. I'm sorry.
I'll say Cowboys are 2.5-point favorite. Preseason,
Really?
I wasn't very big on the Chargers. I personally don't think it really was a setback for them with Diggs. He made the comment about Sauce Gardner not being good at tackles. They said about Diggs getting all those interceptions. It's because he's terrible in coverage. That's why quarterbacks target him. Darrelle Revis wasn't targeted, but Diggs is a terrible coverage guy. That's why he gets the interception. So I think it doesn't even take a step back that he's out. I know they look terrible against San Francisco. That's a dominant team. I'm taking the Cowboys in this game. And then, sorry about that, Danny Stone. I was just too excited to get that out there. I'll let you go.
No, don't apologize. I like your takes. I think Trayvon Diggs is a pretty good cornerback, but I do know he gets burned and he takes chances. It reminds me of Marcus Peters and his youth. He would take risks. But I think he's a solid player. But yeah, he's not Darrelle Revis or maybe even Jalen Ramsey in his like prime, which it'll be interesting to see him come back from Miami if and when that happens this year. But yeah, this is tough for me because I think both teams have looked really good. Both teams should be really good, but I also know, like in my heart of hearts, and I know I don't know anything, but I just know that neither of these teams are going to make any type of real run if they even make the playoffs, which I think Dallas should make the playoffs. They're probably a top 3 NFC team, but they're so behind the Niners and Eagles, in my opinion. And they might beat the Eagles in the regular season, but that doesn't mean anything to me. So I'm going to take the Chargers, but the Chargers probably will charger. And I wouldn't be shocked if Brandon Staley just outthinks him. It's hard to watch because I really like him, but
goes for a 4th down on his own 30 in the second
what do you
quarter.
do? Like the analytics say, well, forget the analytics. Like look at the scoreboard, look at your players. Like just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, Danny Stone, I hope you do good this week because this is probably the most we agreed on. Right now, we only disagreed on 3 games.
Oh, okay.
Chargers. You have Chargers, I have Cowboys. I have Tampa, you have Detroit. And then Atlanta. I have Atlanta, you have Washington. So we'll see. Hopefully we do good this week.
That might be my worst pick. Is Washington
easy
over Atlanta.
2-1 for SamMeeBee coming into next Tuesday.
I love that. I love that.
You think the Tampa's gonna be my loss?
Yeah.
I don't know. Remember those creamsicles is what we got going on there.
Oh man! And every time you remind me of it, all of a sudden you got me back.
I'm all about uniforms. For example, I will admit I love the Patriots throwback when they do that Patriot
The
flag or
red?
whatever. Yeah,
The red? I have
white helmet?
it disintegrated in the washer because I think it was a
Yeah.
knockoff. But I had a throwback Brady jersey that was red. It was awesome.
Yeah, and the white helmet, because I know the NFL was weird about helmets. That you couldn't do alternate helmets. That's why you didn't see alternate uniforms the last few years. So I'm happy they're finally letting teams bring back alternate jerseys. Preseason, I said my favorite was probably Seattle, which they haven't unveiled theirs yet. My least favorite was Cleveland with the all whites. And sure enough, when they displayed it against the Steelers, I was like, yeah, these are ugly. I hate the all whites. So yeah, that was cool. That was week 6. We'll go back to the full screen of us. Any closing remarks? It was a little bit longer, but I liked it because we got more in-depth analysis from our guest host, Nick, here. Any closing remarks from you, Nick?
No, not really. Really appreciate the time and the invitation. This has been a big joy for me tonight, and look forward to talking football later.
Yeah, we agreed as well with a lot of picks. I think the one you differed on from both of us was Chicago. We both had Minnesota, but other than that, not many differences. Oh, I think Cincinnati. So outside those 2 games, those are the 2 where you disagree with both of us. So it'll be interesting to see. So, any closing remarks from you, Danny Stone?
No, thanks for putting this together, Sammy B. And Nick, thank you so much for doing this. And I really enjoyed the Patriots insight. It's really fun to have a fan from another team give that perspective because, I think I know. And then you definitely, like, I forgot all about, is it Harris, the rookie wide receiver they drafted? I forgot all about that. That was
N'Keal Harry, yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't remember his name, which is unfortunate for a lot of reasons, but N'Keal Harry. But yeah, thank you for doing this. This was great. And we'll see what happens this weekend, this Thursday and this weekend, as always, with the games. I'm excited for week 6. It's really flying by.
Yeah, and I love the ways to get a different fan perspective. Following the bye week, the Steelers go to Los Angeles to play our team. So we definitely, being Gem City, Erie, we have a lot of Steeler fans. So I'm sure we'll have a guest on. Who knows? Maybe even 2. So or maybe Monday or Tuesday we could do like a pre-game, prediction and do that, and then do our weekly picks on Wednesday still.
Sure.
No, it's
I
just
know
fun.
We'd love to have Nick back on. I thought he was
Oh
great.
yeah. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for your input, Nick. Love hearing it, especially hearing. I don't know many Patriots fans, and I wanted to hear it straight from your guys' mouth how you feeling about it. So, I got the inputs, and
Always
great
happy to share words.
Yeah. Awesome. Like I said, you can catch us every Wednesday where we do our NFL Week 6 picks. Go ahead, check it out. Good luck, safe gambling, and one love.
One love.
One love.